Something that I've had on my mind lately is an old book, a manuscript containing music for the lute. The short piece you just heard me play is from that very book, in fact, which is currently being stored in an archive of the Bavarian State Library in Munich. What we are dealing with here is a collection of music from the High Renaissance, which happened in Italy about 500 years ago. Time hasn't been kind to this musical tradition, as most of it has been lost, forgotten, or, well, let's say, misinterpreted.
Where it's wave over wave, sea over bow, I'm at.
Through the lens of visual art, this period in history doesn't seem that foreign to us though. You know, there's Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, and many such artists who we know and love. Rediscovering the music of their times and bringing it back to life is something we're right in the middle of, and what I devote this YouTube channel to. The manuscript I just mentioned is by far not the only written music that has come down to us from the Italian Renaissance, but this one stands out. If it weren't for this book, we'd have lost almost all trace of a then famous and celebrated musician by the name of Marco dall'Aquila. This painting, the so-called Pastoral Concert by Giorgione, who was about the same age as Marco and worked in the same city, Venice, was created when he was in his late 20s. It shows a nobleman spending some free time out in nature, surrounded by a shepherd and two muses. This picture illustrates the qualities that helped the lute gain immense popularity at the time. Many nobles and wealthy citizens chose to pick up playing it, not only because it was fun and represented a distraction from everyday rich people troubles like, weddings, family plots, you name it, but also to demonstrate education, wealth, and good taste. Master musicians like Marco dall'Aquila were much sought after as teachers or private musicians in a time before iTunes or Spotify. In fact, the musical collection we're looking at here served as somewhat of an iPod to one of Marco's wealthy clients. A personal object you could put some of your favorite tunes on and then just take them along on the road. One short piece I'd like to share with you now is somewhat of a miniature showcase of Marco's inventiveness and humor. Since most of his pieces don't bear a specific name, but instead just the generic term Recercare, I chose to give this one a nickname, just as many famous paintings received their modern names like Pastoral Concert much later on. I chose to name this piece the Birdcage Recercare. Well, you'll find out why. Let me explain what I mean by birdcage. The piece is made up of three voices. Now, if you were to remove the middle one and only play the high and the low voice, the beginning would sound something like this. actually the piece would already sound just fine like that. Now, let's have a look at the voice that's missing. We'll only really need 2 notes here. Sort of reminiscent of a bird, isn't it? There's this typical little cuckoo motif repeated at unpredictable points in time and nested in between 2 other voices, as you'd expect a cuckoo in the nest. Now, let's hear all the voices together again. Doesn't leave it at that and actually works with this little bird motif as he develops his piece freely. Now, apparently, hiding caged birds in one's art wasn't entirely exclusive to Marco dell'Aquila. There's this famous painting, incidentally also featuring a lute, where the celebrated artist Caravaggio confronts us with a bird in a cage. This is not without meaning, as birds represent what humanist philosophers called musica naturalis, the music of nature, as opposed to the music of the spheres, that artists draw their inspiration from. This fascination with returning to nature and the relationship between man-made things and natural beauty was a common theme of the times. We just encountered it in the Pastoral concert. The lute player is out in a field, far from the city, in the company of a shepherd, a man leading a simpler, seemingly happy life, and all the while this muse is quite literally drawing inspiration out of the well. The sources that I, in turn, am drawing my inspiration from are forgotten music and the art that goes along with it. Every Friday, there's a new video essay on that right here on my YouTube channel, which is called Memo. If you wouldn't want to miss the next episode, you could subscribe right here on YouTube, on Facebook or Instagram. Next week, I'll be presenting a new piece of music which I wrote, inspired both by Marco dell'Aquila, who you got to know today, and a famous work by Leonardo, which is hanging in Paris in the Louvre. It's not the Mona Lisa. Well, I hope you tune in next Friday.